Okay, you have some space there behind for those who are standing if you want to sit. So let me welcome you. And I see that Europe is still popular, which is, good news for Europe. Director General, welcome. My dear friend Senen, welcome. Ambassadors, directors, guests, friends. We're very glad to have you here in at the Policy Center for the New South for this consultation process. That will go on until all the way tomorrow. We'll have parallel sessions and a sort of more focused discussion. But today we are very pleased to have you, Director General Sandino, to present us and have a discussion with the participants here on the future. Basically, you called it Pact. We called it, the future of the European Union relations with this part of the world. And I think, let me say very briefly how we stand here at the Policy Center for the New South and our partners on the continent and what we gathered of the zeitgeist of the day, what's sort of in people's mind. I think it's a good time to rethink our relations in general, and it's good times for countries to rethink their foreign policy in general as well. You followed the news, I'm sure, this morning, yesterday, and the day before. Someone is creating margins, and we should maybe thank him for that. We can discuss the method, but there are spaces are being created, and I think politics is back in its sort of noble sense, and you will find on this side of the Mediterranean, but broadly on the continent, appetite for strategic discussions. It means more political discussions in terms of your engagement with your partner on this side of the Mediterranean. I think it's a good news to repoliticize a little bit, in the good sense of the term, our relation, which means, having strategic discussions in a way, of the kind of relation we want, the values we share, the hiatuses that were sort of accumulated over time, and the kind of aggiornamento we can get to. And you'll find, I'm sure, and let's see tomorrow, this afternoon, tomorrow, the discussions, but there's lots. My sense is that, we meet with lots of stakeholders around the continent, or broadly in the South. There's appetite for that. You'll find partners that are willing to engage on various topics and to engage, of course, in a renewed format. So you have to salute also the initiative of the European Union to rethink its engagement and the attempt that you're making with the new agenda for the Mediterranean. And these are the reasons why we accepted, although we can't refuse anything to Senen, but this is the fundamental reason. In the end, we are analytical institutions, so people here are driven by a sense of purpose, a sense of trying to build a better world. Which is in the end what we do as think tanks with the EuroMeSCo and institutions like the Policy Center and many others. So let me again thank your team, Senen at EuroMeSCo, for putting this together. My own colleagues here at the Policy Center for also committed, and Director General Sandino as well for accepting to spend some time with us. I think we have to close by 4 p.m. So, Senen, you'll be in charge of managing us and guiding us through time. So again, welcome to all of you, and thank you for being here.
Please welcome Mr. Senen Florența, Executive President of the European Institute of the Mediterranean. Senen Florența, the floor is yours.
Just wait, maybe you won't applaud at the end. So thank you very much, really, dear Director General Stefano Sandino, dear President El Ayaouni, and dear their friends and colleagues in this session. But it is a pleasure really to be here today in the Policy Center for the New South in Rabat for this exchange of views. We are continuing the first encounter we had with Commissioner Dubrovna-Suica a couple of weeks ago in Brussels to start this consultation process. And now we are pleased to do the first round in the south here in Morocco. Then we will continue. We'll have a second session in Cairo, and then a third final session of these previous consultations in Brussels. So let me thank our partners and the Policy Center for the New South for hosting us in Rabat. For 30 years, EuroMeSCo has been a key platform connecting think tanks, research institutions, and policymakers across the Euro-Mediterranean region. Through structured dialogues and policy studies, it has brought together experts and decision makers for decades to build knowledge-based solutions for our shared regional challenges. The EuroMeSCo Network and the European Institute of the Mediterranean, as its coordinator, have built a strong research, dialogue, and advocacy nexus essential for shaping policy decisions and continue fostering cooperation between Europe and its southern neighborhood. In this rapidly evolving geopolitical context marked by conflict, climate urgency, economic disparities, and social transitions, independent expertise and multilateral cooperation are more essential than ever. EuroMeSCo Network has consistently facilitated these exchanges. In this sense, we are proud to support the reflection around the new Pact for the Mediterranean, which must be rooted in inclusive, participatory, and forward-looking engagement with southern partners. More than just contributing to the Pact's development, this project will also help enhancing the engagement of actors in the region around the new Pact and mobilize them for its implementation, leveraging on IEMed networks to engage key actors, especially in the South Mediterranean countries. As part of this initiative, in view of structuring the consultation series that I mentioned here in Rabat and then in Cairo and then in Brussels, we have previously organized a region-wide open online survey consultation exercise through our instrument, which we have been developing for more than 10 years now, the expert survey, EuroMed expert survey that maybe all of you know. The survey just closed a few weeks ago. While we are working on the report we prepare on the results of the extensive survey, the preliminary results are already revealing significant insights. You have to take into account this is an expert survey, it's not a public opinion survey. For example, nearly 80% of respondents from the southern neighborhood view the European Union as the principal actor in the region. But in comparison, only 67% of the non-EU respondents they see the Gulf as the EU respondents see the Gulf as relatively more relevant. So, from southern neighborhood, they see us as in more capacity to help them. That is kind of the message. And we sometimes skip the responsibilities from the north, which is good to bear it in mind in this new period of the exercise. And for example, the majority of southern respondents believe that achieving the Sustainable Development Goals represent the most significant potential of the EU Southern Neighbourhood Partnership, followed by economic growth and geopolitical alliances and stabilities. These findings show the immense potential we have in front of us and the timeliness of the new Pact in the region. In a context where international cooperation is sliding back, and on the occasion of the 30th anniversary of the Barcelona process, we have a momentum to seize. These consultations may therefore be crucial in ensuring that the Pact reflects the region's priorities and needs as seen from all different parts, and especially by the actors from the South. One important aspect in consideration is the need to recover the relevance of the regional approach of the Euro-Mediterranean Partnership, of which we commemorate this year, as you know, the 30th anniversary of its inception in Barcelona in 1995. Its bilateral dimension, the EU bilateral relation with each Mediterranean partner country, has been rightly stressed by the European Neighbourhood Policy launched by President Prodi, that you know very well because you were a close collaborator with him already back in 2004, 2006, and has been working since then as the one of the main policies of the European Union. But we cannot forget the essentially regional character of the main problems and challenges that we have to face in this area. And therefore, the regional programs, and specifically the Union for the Mediterranean, are key essential parts of the institutional framework of the Euro-Mediterranean Partnership. It is the central stage where to convene on regional policies to be promoted by the European Union and its southern partners, with a new Pact for the Mediterranean that we are contributing to shape in this exercise. And finally, only let me thank our participants. If you see the list at the end of the program, it's a long list of people very qualified and experts coming from different countries. In the list, we have now 90 people. So that let me thank our participants that will accompany us not only today, but throughout the whole consultation process. We have top experts from leading think tanks and research institutions of the EuroMeSCo network, representatives of key Euro-Mediterranean organizations and actors of development cooperation. We look very much forward to stimulating and innovative frameworks of discussion to share your insights and vision for the future of our region, not only among ourselves, but especially today with the representatives of the European institutions. As I said, after Rabat, this process will continue in Cairo later this month to cover the perspectives, especially looking more to the Mashrek and the Middle East. And we'll conclude a final meeting in Brussels in June, back-to-back with a meeting of the senior officials to discuss the main features of the Pact that then you will have to launch. We are now to hear from you, dear participants, after the intervention of the Director General, and allow you to exchange with the Director General on the Pact that should be promoted now. So thank you very much for your attention.
Now, please join me in welcoming Mr. Stefano Sannino, Director General for the Middle East, North Africa, and the Gulf at the European Commission for the introduction of the new Pact for the Mediterranean. Stefano Sannino, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody, and apologies for being late. I hope that was for a good cause, because it was part of the consultation that I'm having with the countries of the region in view of the definition of this Pact for the Mediterranean. But before focusing on the Pact, let me say just a few words on this new structure which has been created, the new well, actually, first of all, the new commissioner for the Mediterranean, because politically this is a very strong sign. The idea of having a commission which is devoted exclusively to the Mediterranean region, I think it's a clear indication of the importance that President von der Leyen attached to the relationship with this region. And it is something that's strange to be thought. It's something that had never happened before. So it's the first time that the Commission is giving itself this new portfolio. And this new structure to support Commissioner Suica in her work and to structure in a way, I hope, the work that we will be doing, even better the relationship between the European Union and the Mediterranean region. Now, in this context, one of the main tasks which was given by the President of the Commission to Mrs. Šuica was the definition of a pact for the Mediterranean. When we started reflecting about the what we wanted to do and what we wanted to achieve with the pact, we started with the agenda for the Mediterranean of 2021, which is already defining a framework for the relationship between the EU and the Mediterranean region. So the idea was, what else could we do, which would be the added value, which would be the difference? What could we do in order to have a positive impact on the relationship with the countries of the region, but what would we do which is different from what has been done up until now? And hence we came up with, first of all, a first basic idea, and I know that it sounds a little bit basic, but still, that we wanted to have a consultative process before. So before coming up with a document, with the paper, we wanted to listen to the region, we wanted to listen to the countries of the region and to the people of the region. And that's the process that we have started in parallel, and I'm very grateful to IEMed for the work that it's doing, for all the cooperation, because the consultation process with the civil society is very much a part of the work that they are doing. And in parallel, we are also running consultations with the governments of the 10 countries of the southern neighborhood, and with the some components from segments of the civil society that are particularly relevant for the elaboration of the pact itself. One of the first things that came out quite clearly from these discussions was that the expectation was for something very concrete and pragmatic. Not another very elaborated and sophisticated strategy, but something really creating possibly a networks, a net of different initiatives, of different projects that could link the region together. So first of all, pragmatic character, working, if I may say it, more than on politics, on policies. So what can be really done very concretely in order to create a better overall environment in the region and between the north and the south. The second point of this of the approach that is taking shape is that of focusing on specific areas that could have an impact on the life of the people and could make a visible difference in the life of the people. So not something, if I may say so, aspirational to implement in 20 years, but something very specific to, on which we can start working tomorrow, or even better today, in order to have a constructive impact. So we have started to identify a number of potential areas of interest that are ranging from energy to the green economy, from the cooperation among university to the cultural dimension, and all this with having in mind one important element, which is the impact on the people and the impact on the youth, which is a little bit at the center of our attention. in this context, and I'm not certainly hiding this, all the elements, all the aspects which are connected to mobility, it's also part of the reflection, but we would like to have it as an element which is, let's say, coming from the composition of all the other different aspects of the work that we want to develop. So we will continue, and so I appreciate, and that's why I won't speak too long, because I want to listen to you more than to talk to you and to explain which are your interests. There is always this good feeling that the experts are explaining to us what needs to be done. So I want to listen to you, and which are your ideas, which are your suggestions for having, as I say, a very concrete impact on the life of our citizens on both sides of the Mediterranean. And which are the initiatives that you think could be useful in this perspective? We are heading I'm more or less completing the tour of the countries of the region. I hope to do that by the end of this month. We will head then to a ministerial meeting, which will take place on the 23rd of June, which will be co-chaired by the High Representative and the Commissioner for the Mediterranean, in the margins of the Foreign Affairs Council, together with the 10 countries of the southern neighborhood. And then we will continue our work. We are still, until that moment, we are still in the phase of defining, I would say, the building blocks, the approach, rather than preparing any specific document. And then we'll start working to what could be hopefully the Pact. It was recalled the Barcelona process, and the fact that in the end of this year we will have the 30th anniversary of the Barcelona process, which has been the beginning of this new relationship between the countries of the European Union and of the Mediterranean region. And so we hope to honor and celebrate this moment with the endorsement by the 27 plus the 10 of this new pact that, as I said, we hope could give a sense of the perspective of the work that we can and we want to do together for the good of our people, knowing that the present and the future of the two shores of the Mediterranean are strictly interlinked, and our security and our well-being depends very much from the security and the well-being of the others. So thank you very much. Thanks for your participation. Once again, thanks to the organizer for this, and happy to start the dialogue with you. Thanks.
We now invite Mr. Senen Florenza to moderate our upcoming discussion. Mr. Florenza, you may now have the floor.
Okay. So thank you very much. Really, it's an interesting moment because it's an interesting experience. Such a big organization as the European Commission is ready to have a frank, open discussion with very different people coming from many different countries, having different orientations in their attitude toward general affairs. And so they are all committed. That's the only common feature of them all. They are all committed to this Euro-Mediterranean partnership, this Euro-Mediterranean cooperation, in the common belief that this is the best way to promote the interest of the different peoples around the Mediterranean. So now the floor is not mine, but yours. You put the questions, and I will try just to when you take the floor to put the question, just introduce yourself briefly with your name and affiliation, and then you put your question. Any questions right now? Okay, please.
Hello everyone, my name name is Yahya Shitwi. I serve as an EU connector, and I'm really happy to do this. Hi, Your Excellency. At the same time, I studied country studies, so I'm more into definitions. I would like to ask about the EU definition. Is it static or changing? Like with this new process, are you rethinking the definition of the EU, or you already agreed on one and you're going to see the world through this definition all the time? Thank you.
Okay, this is a very existential question.
I don't think that we are redefining the European Union or the definition of the European Union. I mean, it's the process of membership to the European Union is what it is and is determined by a number of criteria. But certainly what we are trying to do is to define a different way of working together with the countries of the region. And this will be determined very much by the reciprocal level of ambitions. We need to, now European Union, we need to define how far we are ready to go in this new relationship and how to say, be consequential with the commitments that we are taking. And at the same time, the countries of the region has to decide how far they want to go in integrating more into the European Union. I'm not saying that you have to buy everything that is part of the European Union, but even in the enlargement process, there is this idea that the countries have to digest the acquis communautaire, so the set of rules and norms of the European Union. There are different ways of doing this, but I think that the regulatory approximation, the approximation of standards and norms is certainly one of the ways to get a much better integration. And you were mentioning Romano Prodi. At the time when the Southern Neighborhood was launched, he coined this sentence, was saying everything but institutions. And it was, I can tell you that at the time, since I was there doing this work, it was really everything, including the internal market. But again, I mean, it's not a pick and choose, it's everything.
So thank you very much for your answer. I remember very well that period with President Prodi, which it was still in that mirific period of the Barcelona process where everything seemed possible. And now things have become much more complicated every day, every year, and every week. But let's hope with this new impetus, with the new Pact, we find ways to foster again this positive spirit that we had at that time with President Prodi, which we all very vividly remember. So any other questions? Please, introduce yourself, please, briefly, your name and affiliations.
I'm Ivan Martin, I'm Senior Fellow at the Policy Center for the New South, and I have three questions linked to each other. The first one, what is the time horizon of the Pact you are thinking about? Because your Director General is going to focus to concentrate the management of the cooperation funds of the European Union with the countries in the region. Are you thinking of 2025, 2027, or also the new budget period until 2034? Second, what is the meaning you give to the concept of Pact? Because we have had a partnership, we have had a union, we have a union, we had an agenda, you have referred to it, and now we will have a pact. And well, I would like to hear what is your take on that, and I will stop here.
Okay. For me, there is no timeline of the Pact. In the sense, the only timeline is the moment when we have to at least adopt the I would say, the basic structure and the building blocks of the Pact. And as I was saying, our perspective is to do it by the end, before the end of the year, hopefully, again, in coincidence with the celebration for the 30th anniversary of the Barcelona process. That said, this for me, it's an open process. And it's open not only in terms of timing, but it's also open in terms of issues that which will be covered by the Pact. I've mentioned really just a few ones. There are many more. Last night we were discussing, for example, all the cultural dimension for the Pact, which was extremely interesting, and I believe that this is a very important part of the story, and it will be culture and the cultural dimension, the cooperation among university, part of the Pact itself. I don't know if it's a bad news, but I mean the Pact will not be accompanied by a specific financial envelope. So essentially, we will use the budgets, the funds that we have available till the end of this cycle, so till 2027. And then in the meantime, we have started working on the definition of the future multi-annual financial framework, or the future budget of the European Union. And in that context, we are trying to take into account also the kind of initiatives that could support the implementation of the Pact. But honestly, it's really too early to speak now about any financial allocation after 2027. That said, and that's something that I want to stress, I think that the Pact and the implementation of the Pact is not necessarily linked with the money. It is much more about policies. It's also much more about involving the private sector and using the instruments that we have in order to support and facilitate the participation of the private sector. It is already the case now, if you look at the way our financial partnership is shaped. A good part of it goes into initiatives that are leveraging, as a matter of fact, the contributions coming from either European financial institutions or national financial institutions for different member states, or from the private sector. So we will continue to operate and working in that dimension. To your second question, and I said it before, the agenda for the Mediterranean is a political document which is defining the characteristics of the political relationship between the EU and the Mediterranean region. The Pact, I hope, should be a much more hands-on and concrete and operational instrument that can provide avenues of cooperation that, as I was saying before, could have a concrete impact in the very short term. And that's why I'm saying this is just the beginning of the process and not the end of the process, because then other areas could come up. I have to say that personally, I also think that we need to be very flexible and pragmatic in the implementation of the Pact. I understand that the regional dimension, including all the different actors, is very appealing, but I also understand that maybe we could even start in a much more flexible way, with more flexible geometries, and then take initiatives and see if others will be willing to join these initiatives, because otherwise I fear that before taking off, it will take ages, and that's what we don't have. We don't have the luxury of time. We need to provide an instrument that has an impact, and I hope that this can create sort of a positive effect on everybody. But we will try to, again, put together an instrument which in itself has an inbuilt flexibility.
Okay, so that's a very interesting point you made, because this variable, geometry variable, we have seen the results in Europe itself. Some countries didn't believe in the euro, didn't join, but the euro proceeded, and we have it there. And so inviting countries, partner countries to join in one specific focused area, and it will proceed. No having to wait till the end, everybody agrees. That's an important key point that you made in this discussion. Yes, please. Well, gentleman over there.
Thank you. Khalil Dabi, German Institute for Global and Area Studies. I'm postdoctoral fellow there. Should I start from the beginning? All right. All right. Yeah. So basically, I'll go straight to the point. You have mentioned that you would rather see policies than politics. And as Mr. Ainaoui has mentioned in his words, the southern neighborhood wants more politics rather than, more technocratic policy making. So how do you square that gap? And the second remark that flows from this, have you considered maybe including other types of actors from the global south in this process, such as unions and different parts of civil society? Because I think they should also have their word to say on a process that, as you said, will have an impact on people's life, and that is its main aim. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think that there is a contradiction in what we were saying. I mean, the idea that policies are not political, unfortunately, is gone. Energy is not political. Digital ISO is not political. Data protection ISO is not political. So, I mean, I don't think that saying that, focusing on policies does not mean that we do not want to make politics. I think that we want to make politics, but maybe in a different way, with the bottom-up approach rather with the top-down approach. If the interest is there to really be part of, integrate more into the European Union again, and everybody speaking about legislative approximation and regulatory framework and so on, it's also very political, because it means that essentially you are making a choice where the multi-alignment does not have room. Because you cannot be at the same time integrating in the European Union and make business with other parts of the world which are doing policies that are opposed to the policies of the European Union. So it's also a question of geo-economic positioning that you need to take. So I don't think that there is a contradiction, but it's taking it from another perspective. Let's put it this way. To your second questions, indeed, and it's what I was saying, I mean, in my contacts in the countries of the region, I'm meeting the government, which is normal, I would say, but also the different segments and parts of the civil society, starting from the economic sector, because I think that it's a very important part of the story, with the cultural sector, because I think that it's also a very important part of the story, with different social actors. And so to have not only a broad approach to and a broad understanding of the needs, but also, and believe me, sometimes the best ideas are coming not necessarily, and I'm not speaking about Morocco, I mean, let's be clear, but the best ideas are coming from other components where you do not expect necessarily to have a reflection on what really could be done, not only at national but also at the regional level.
Okay, so thank you very much for your clarifications. I think that that's what we meant sometimes as a principle pragmatism, so that we have to make things that are clearly policies in favor of concrete things for the people, and not get entangled in ideological discussions. But okay, so now this young lady over there.
Hello, Iman Sidi. I'm with the EuroMeSCo Initiative. The EuroMeSCo Initiative for Climate and Development. We're a climate think tank based in Morocco. And so my question is, you mentioned the importance of having a consultative process. And I was wondering, besides the consultations that you're leading in Brussels, Rabat, and Cairo, are you planning other forms of maybe hybrid consultations that can include a wider group of civil society organizations from the MENA region, so from Morocco to, Lebanon? And also considering the geopolitical landscape is constantly shifting and the priorities in terms of climate, energy, security, etc., are also constantly shifting. I was wondering if you're planning other rounds of consultations in the next years to keep that dialogue and that consultative process coherent. I hope that was clear. Thank you.
Thanks. On the first question, yes, in the sense that the idea we are having and will continue having consultations covering different areas, different sectors. We will see how to, as I said, until June, I'm not, I want to continue, let's say, defining our the basic building blocks, the shaping up of the Pact itself. And then I think that I would like to use the months to follow to have some dive in some specific areas of sectors where we believe that there could be more interest, and to have it also on a not only on a national basis but also on a transnational basis. We'll see how we can organize this, even if there are a lot of initiatives. I don't know if I can put everything, a label that is Pact for the Mediterranean for all of them, but there are a lot of initiatives that are already taking place in different parts of the both north and south to discuss these different issues. For the future, honestly, I had not really given too much thought about that, but it's a good suggestion not to stop it there and to continue. What I certainly had in mind was the fact of, as I was saying before, not stopping there with the adoption of whatever we are going to adopt to endorse, but continuing the reflection and trying also to broaden as necessary the elements of the work that we can do together.
Any other questions? Okay, you. Maybe we can take different questions. Go ahead. We still have some 18 minutes, so.
Thank you very much. Emmanuel Noutari, I'm the Director General of the ANIMA Investment Network. We are a network of investment promotion agencies and business network from 20 EuroMed countries. And we are collaborated with DG NEAR and MENA on several initiatives. You did not mention the word integration. And when we look at the organization of the new DG MENA, it seems that you separate Maghreb, Mashrek, Gulf. You talked about green transition, and if we want to achieve a greener economy, industry, probably shorter value chain is an issue, and therefore the economic integration in this basin is probably an answer to this green transition. The South is very dependent from the North in terms of FDI and trade, while European companies are more looking east, Asia, Southeast Asia, China. So is this idea of integration, which was a fundamental of the Barcelona process, still in your agenda and still a core policy for core concern for the EU, also in the view of the green transition and the Green Pact? That's a question.
Any other questions? Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Muad Al-Mrabat, and I'm head of the Service of Initiatives and Partnerships for Employment, and I'm here to represent our Ministry of Employment with my colleague Hisham. I have a very direct question. As you know, the problematic of employment is a very complex and specific and difficult problematic. And now we have the opportunity to develop a new pact to solve very different issues. So what level of priority the new pact offer to solve this complex problematic? Is it like we are offering a new framework to deal with it, or is it like an approach or output that we can find in the different interventions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Mohamed. I work for the Union for the Mediterranean as head of sector for regional integration. And I have two questions. One of them is a follow-up to what Emmanuel has mentioned. As you know, unfortunately, the South, in this case, the Southern Mediterranean, has one of the lowest levels of economic integration anywhere in the world. So when we're doing consultations with the Southern partners, they are not obviously a homogeneous group of countries with policy divergence or with similar geopolitical or economic realities on the ground. And I was wondering, how is the Pact taking this into consideration? And my second question has to do with the Pact itself. How agile is the Pact? Because we're seeing major, let's say, I don't want to call them powers, but other parts of the world moving very quickly, taking over economies in sub-Saharan Africa, in Latin America. They move, they are not necessarily tied by any ethical reference or framework. As you rightly mentioned, their value system is not necessarily aligned with ours in this part of the world, but they move very quickly. They're already there. It's a reality on the ground. How agile would the Pact be to avoid very lengthy bureaucratic processes and actually offer a proactive mindset rather than the reactionary measures that we've been seeing over the last few years? Thank you very much.
Let me take the last one question for this round.
Thank you very much. I'm Marcello Scarisi, Director of EuroMeSCo, the Mediterranean University Union. In the last years, but you mentioned about the role of institutions, and we consider, obviously, as a university network, that universities should play an important role on that, because in some countries, some of our countries, universities are one of the most stable institutions, in a way also independent institution. In the past, through Erasmus program, we did a lot of initiative, university environment, through mobility, capacity building, but we are still in the approach of working for beneficiaries. What we are looking for the Pact is why not to move now in the direction of the Barcelona process, partnership. And in particular, what we proposed through the consultation online, why not to open the door for Euro-Mediterranean University Alliances, which is in a way in the same direction of the European framework, but is obviously with some differences and so on. Do you think that the Pact should move in that direction? Obviously, I'm not talking about concretely the instruments, but as approach. And another very quick question on crisis situation. Do you think that the Pact should have some windows, special windows for supporting the right to study and the right to research for those that are living in crisis situation that could happen also in the future? Thanks.
Okay, so Director General.
Thanks. Somehow It's interesting because it's, we are going around a little bit, which is the essence of the pact. If it has to be a sort of extremely ambitious mechanism instrument to solve a number of long-standing problems in the region, that goes from the economic integration or simply integration to the employment, unemployment, and so on. My sincere and honest answer to you is that this is not what I think for the pact. I think that the pact has to be something, once again, as I mentioned before, bottom-up, pragmatic, a little bit like the European Union. We didn't start with the political union, and we are not yet there. We started with coal and steel, and then progressively we have built on. And we have tried to have this functional approach, which has brought us together and has allowed us to go into progressive stages of integration. I'm not pretending to say that the pact is this, because it would be arrogant on my side. But again, I hope that taking it from a different perspective, not from the from the top with the idea of solving all the problems, but trying to create a network, fabrics that can hold the capacity of the Mediterranean region to prosper and to be stable. So, it's not that I don't want to speak about integration, but I hope that integration will come with the, not saying you have to integrate, because we have been trying for how many years? But trying to see if there are concrete initiatives that can bring together countries to work together, even if they don't like each other too much. So it's that's the approach, that's the angle that I'm trying to take. I hope that the pact will be agile, and that's a little bit the point of what we are doing, because if this could also the flexibility of the approach can help. Let's say, overcoming a number of problems and difficulties. I may also hope that by developing a number of initiatives in different sectors, we are also tackling the issue of employment and the issue of the economic growth of the countries, and including the issue of mobility. But once again, I think that it's taking more from a perspective of the pragmatic things that can be done. On universities, I think, I don't know if I've mentioned, if I've not, apologies, because indeed we want to work on the university dimension and the cooperation among universities. Speaking again about Prodi, he has been struggling for this project of joint universities in the Mediterranean for many years. It's a very nice idea, and we will try to see how far we can go. There again, maybe we can take a sort of step-by-step approach. It would be already nice if we could have, for example, universities that agreeing among themselves double grades. That could recognize diplomas, and that would be also already an important step forward. So, to your idea of the EuroMed University Alliance, yes, we will. I don't know how we want to call it, but we will be working on that. Right to study in area of crisis, we will try. There too. and it's a little bit more a question for us, that for the European Union, because it means how much are we ready to provide visas for students that are coming to study in Europe. And that's a question for our member states will have to answer.
Last round. Please, the lady in the middle.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shayma El-Mehdawi. I work for an NGO called Access Morocco, but today I serve as an EU GIL connector. So my question is, how does the new pact intend to move from policy to practice when it comes to empowering the next generation, especially in integrating the young people from the southern Mediterranean, for them not only to be beneficiaries of programs, but also co-creators and decision makers in shaping the future of our region? Thank you.
Okay. Oh, now ladies come up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Thelma Betta, and I represent the Mediterranean Youth Council. We are a gathering of 40 plus people across the Mediterranean Sea. So my question is pertaining to the consideration for the revision of the role of youth within the new pact. My question is basically, how do we see youth in the new pact versus the old one? In the sense that, are we only agents for the future, or our opinions are supposed to serve the present, for our opinions to be meaningfully integrated into decision makings that are instant in nature? Thank you so much.
Last question. Okay, you.
Hi everyone, my name is Larbi Toumi. I am agroeconomist working at NDP as the Green Growth and Job Accelerator Program Manager. So as you know, the rise of protectionism led by the foreign policy of United States of America, the country number one in the world, and its impacts on the economic world in terms of disruption of global supply chain, trade flow redirection, and economic uncertainty. So taking into consideration this big challenge, how we can build the Mediterranean of the future of tomorrow under the leadership of the European Union to build a real win-win partnership between European Union and its southern partner. And thank you.
Thank you. You want to put a question? You have the privilege.
Just to come back on multi-alignment. I think I will encourage you to keep the door of communication open in this very changing world where we don't know. You don't know in Europe, we don't know what are the consequences of the unfolding and unraveling of the rule-based order. So we don't know, you don't know. There are things that are completely exogenous to us, both of us, particularly what happens between China and the United States. And we are, in a way, innocent bystanders, I would say, in economic terms. So I think I understand, being very practical, being very, effective on the ground. But I think it's important that we keep channels of communications open, both at the political level, governments, which you speak often to, but also at experts level. And I think what was suggested through universities, think tanks, civil society is essential. I think we are potentially well aligned. I say potentially, and we don't have time to explain how and why, but I think there's a natural alignment given what we see here, the policy center and with other think tanks around the world. But that's not a given. It will need management, it will need to be nurtured, and understanding also. Misunderstanding in this kind of context can happen. We're just human beings, and you've seen it through your career, I'm sure. So many missed opportunities just because of misunderstanding. So I think don't evacuate that channel, even if you want to be very sort of concrete on the pact. The second idea for you is on energy. I think energy is a sector where there's so much things to do. Companies are ready, the private sector. They need the framework because regulation, policy interventions, role of governments, quasi-monopolies, etc. It's far from being a perfect market. The private sector is not going to organize it. It needs you and our governments. So I think pick a couple of sectors like this where there's appetite, money is there. You've identified some of those, but I think, and it will also help us dilute some of the monopolistic sort of positions of some of the countries that can over-influence your relations. And I think it's good, and it's the policy of the European Union, good hedging, spreading risks across countries, which is consistent with a more sort of strategy, better, being more efficient, in terms of your strategic autonomy, where you can draw the lessons from the Russian, the Russian situation with gas. So I think that's one. I'm sure the coming days will come up with very concrete ideas, but these are two for you, one for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, you know that we will continue today and tomorrow in these circles, now in different groups, and then in groups today and tomorrow to go deeper. But it is good to have direct contact with you, and the issues that have been raised are important. So now, please.
Thanks. Youth, and I mentioned it at the very beginning because I think that this is sort of, to me, one of the main elements to which we have to devote our attention, and not in a sort of paternalistic way, but on how really make it sure that the youth can be given the instrument and the possibilities to do things. That's why, for example, one of the things that we are working on is the idea of supporting innovative startups as a means to, let's say, to foster innovation through, let's say, creating opportunities. Now, the innovative startups are not necessarily only for young people, but in general, they are more younger people that are a part of the process. And I agree on both what you said about the co-creation. So it's not just something that is coming from the top and imposed, but on the contrary, I mean, we are trying to see which are the ideas that are coming from the younger generations, and also the allowing younger people to be actors of the change. So it's to be, let's say, not only agents for the future, but also agents for the present today. I don't know what is going to happen in the future between the United States, China, the European Union. I mean, it's still, unfortunately, I have to say, extremely unpredictable. So it's difficult to imagine how all this is going to end up. But this is, and then I'm coming maybe to the point that you were making, this is also one of the reasons why we need to work much more with our partners and with our immediate neighbors. I was saying this morning that, I don't know if it's good or bad, but the world has become much smaller. And so geography matters again enormously. Proximity, it's important. The shorter value chains are becoming one of the things that we need to do. Whether we like it or not, security has become an imperative for the European Union. And if you look at all the program of this commission that the second von der Leyen Commission. It's very much focused on security in its different aspects, from the military security to the economic security, and I will say a few words more on this, to the whole of society security, which has become extremely relevant just a few days ago due to the blackout in Spain, Portugal, and the south of France, which all of a sudden let's say provided a sort of picture of the fragility of our systems in face of an event like this one. Very likely this was not, let's say, triggered by an outside power, but it's a risk that we need to take into account. And that's why, once again, I don't think that we are saying things which are completely different. When I'm saying that the multi-alignment has its limits, I'm saying this because you can be multi-aligned if you are India, maybe if you're China. Because you have the, let's say, two things. You have the market and you have the resilience of the society. But our societies are much less resilient than others. So you need to provide security to our society. And that's an issue that it's starting to be very high on the agenda of, at least on the agenda of the European Union, in trying to define the trust value chain, trusted vendors, in protecting also some elements of security. And again, I mean, data, for example, certain elements of our communications, which are part of, let's say, what we consider really the hard security for the European Union. So that's what I was trying to refer to. That you cannot play on too many tables for too long, because at a certain time you will have to choose which is your the direction that you want to take. Because if you don't choose, someone else will choose for you. Won't open the door or will close the door. That said, I also fully agree with you with the fact that this does not mean that we need to stop talking to others or stopping having relations to others. To speak about a large country like China, I mean, this does not mean that we have never said that we wanted to interrupt our economic activities with China, but we wanted to de-risk a little bit some parts of our economy to avoid that the excessive dependence or the over-dependence to one country can become an element of vulnerability today or tomorrow. We have been living in a period of integration where energy was coming cheap from Russia, goods were coming cheap from China, and security was coming cheap from the United States. And I'm afraid that that time is over. So we need to rethink the way we are structuring our work, our activity, and at the end of the day, our security.
Well, so thank you very much. Thank you, really, you and your team for being with us. This is just the beginning. Now we'll start working in small groups for this discussion that we will continue over the weeks to come and the months to come. And we'll try to contribute in the best possible way to have the best possible pact. The expectations will be high. And so let's hope that we can deliver what our countries need. So thank you very much for being with us.